Hi everyone, this is Jimmy Kelly, and I am here with Russell Wright and Sue Bell. I have them on with me as backups and also for translation because sometimes I don't explain things exactly right. So, getting right into this DAS, you've probably seen this come across occasionally in the Facebook group. We've seen a lot of posts and questions about it, and so just kind of want to get into what DAS is and the basics of why we use it and what it's used for. So you guys kind of understand when you use it and what you should use it for. I'm a firm believer in not just doing something because you're told to do so, but understanding why you're doing the thing that you're told to do. So that will definitely help your SEO in years to come because it's one thing to take information from someone that's telling you to do a certain thing, but you really need to start integrating information you learn in SEO with things you already know or have tested yourselves that work very well. So that's a tip I would give to each of you. So DAS stands for Domain Authority Stacking. This was a method that I noticed was coming into play primarily once the first payday loans update came out, and at that time in my life, I was involved with the insurance and personal loan niches. And so obviously when the payday loans came out, I was a prime candidate for this first iteration of this update. And what was interesting is I noticed is they actually rolled this out 6 months prior to before they rolled it out to everyone else. So that update had actually happened in 2012, and later on May of 2013 that had spread to every major niche across the board. And they do that sometimes in competitive niches where they just want to test and see, what the results look like after we mess around with these filters and the algorithm, and they just want to see how things look before they roll it out on a mass scale. And so, happened to be in one of their niches that they tested that on, and it was devastating for us. We had learned, we had seen that links kind of had to change. It wasn't the same song and dance that we were used to, where it was just blast away kind of thing. And what we were looking at the time was Penguin 1.0. People really started to see, okay, we got to deal with link networks and we got to deal with anchorage, and that started to begin. Gone were the days of blast until you rank kind of methods. All right, so this was a method that we noticed that domains left standing were ones that had really high domain authority. And domain authority is a metric that Moz actually came out with. And you can learn more about their page authority and domain authority metrics over on Moz.com if you want to learn more about how they kind of came up with their metrics. But really what it comes down to is domain authority is based around the authority that a site has. So typically, if you do things according to the way Google wants you to, that entails over time, if you write good content and the more content you put out, hopefully it's getting more social signals. Social signals can equate to link juice, and that's going to build your DA slowly over time with the more and more content that you put out. And this is exactly kind of what Google has been preaching of what they want to see. Now, what we see in the SERPs is, something different, but, this is something that they've always tried to preach to all the SEOs out there. And so you really notice after this update that a lot of these sites remaining had high domain authority. So they were sites that were well-known brands. They had many pages of content, and typically a lot of the brands out there aren't doing too much, real black hat, dirty link building type methods, and especially nowadays. So those were the ones we started seeing that were ranking higher and higher in the SERPs, and the ones that we had blasted away, blast till you rank methods, they fell right off after that payday loans update. And so that kind of introed in to me developing what I call domain authority stacking. Started noticing that the authority of the links coming in and the way you can manipulate that authority helps you rank sites a lot easier and faster in Google. And since that time, it's been a great ranking method. It's really survived every update that has come out so far, not had any problems with it. There's a few properties every now and then in your domain authority stacks that They fall into a bad filter or they lose their trust from Google. But there's plenty of high domain authority sites that you can always swap in and out with those ones that go bad. So it's really kind of an evergreen method, and it's something I think that will carry on well into the future as well. So the most important part to learn is how you structure your domain authority stacking. So one thing I want people to know is this is not just tiered link building. You can apply DAS in a tiered linking structure, but it's not the same. You don't have the same oomph, and you're not manipulating as much Moz trust as you could as if you were doing your domain authority stack correctly. So it'll still work if you're doing like a tiering, but not as effectively if you're doing the clusters. So just wanted to put that out there so all of you know. So the concept of trust rank, and this is going to go into a little bit what Moz talks about, is trust rank. There's a link down here to this study if you ever want to do some free reading from Stanford University that goes into this concept of trust rank, which is basically what Moz used to develop how they measure their page authority and domain authority for different sites in the search engine. And what they notice in this study is, let's say you start out with a trusted seed set. So this would be a very high trusted authority site in Google's eyes. So for instance, let's say you would have National Geographic. Everybody knows who that is. You would have Microsoft. You would have some of these real well-known brands that have been around for quite some time, where in most cases people are going to know what it is, what the company's about. So you can kind of consider that a seed set. It's a brand that's been established and around for a long time, that's an authority in its niche or market. So in this study, when you did one link away, so if this seed set linked over to, let's say, your tier 1 level, it was considered 15% spam. Or, sorry, 0.15% spam. And then a second hop would generate it to 4% spam. And so the more hops you get away from a link from a trusted seed set, the more spammy that is actually going to look. And what this does with this concept of trust rank is the further out away you are from a trusted seed set, the less Moz trust you're going to actually be able to flow back into your. So there's two main parts to domain authority stacking. So one, you're looking at the page authority. So let's pull up a drawing here. So page authority would be in reference to any one single URL that is on a domain. In this instance of what we're showing here is, let's say this is page 1. So this would be a post or a page that you put up on your domain. The links that point to that page, so if you had a bunch of backlinks out here, no matter what the backlinks are, that is going to increase your page authority for that specific page. Okay, now domain authority has to deal with, it's an accumulation of all the pages on your site with all the backlinks going to that site. So if you were to come down here and just have these ready so you guys wouldn't have to sit around and watch me draw stuff. If we had all these links coming in to all these individual pages, that represents your domain authority in Moz. So if I send links to page 3 and page 2 and page 1, all three of these pages contribute to the actual domain authority of yourdomain.com for this example. Now, what's interesting is something to take away from this. Let's say you just traditionally, before payday loans, what would we do? We would get our backlinks going and we'd start sending them off to yourdomain.com, or you might pick a specific page that you optimize on your website. If you look at traditionally, that's not going to be natural to Google in a lot of senses. Well, it's true that popular domains get the majority of links going to their homepage, It's not common to rank for a really competitive keyword and then all your other pages have no links. And it's true that if you send, let's say you had 40 backlinks that were going to just your domain, you would have a DA here. We don't know what that number is. We're just being theoretical with this. Let's say you sent 40 backlinks to your domain, yourdomain.com. If you took those same 40 backlinks and let's say we broke it up, let's say we did 10, let's just do 10 to the home page, and then we would do, let's send it to each of the other pages, right? So 10 backlinks would go to page 3, 10 backlinks would go to page 2, and 10 backlinks would go to page 1. Your domain authority would be stronger than if you sent those same 40 links only to one page on your website. And the reason being is because this is increasing the page authority on each of these pages. It amplifies how much power and strength is on your total domain. So you can just look at it as like the accumulation of all the links going to all the pages on your site. So hopefully that makes some sense with the difference between PA and DA. Now there's a tool for those of you that are new and getting into this that you probably want to go download, and you might have seen me use this on some webbies here and there. And it's right up here. This is called the Moz Toolbar, and it's an add-on that you can get for either, I usually use it on Mozilla, but you can also get it for Chrome. You can find it here at this web address, moz.com/tools/SEO-toolbar. And right here, you can just download these add-ons directly to your whichever browser you prefer using. Now, by doing that, that's going to allow you to see metrics up here whenever you go to different websites. So I wanted you guys to be aware of that so you can kind of do quick analysis on the run as you're looking for either backlinks to get or competitors you're looking at. And it just makes it easier than having to go to Ahrefs or some of these other ones that are popular, or Majestic. So this is an example of one of the more popular properties that I would use in the domain authority stacking. So you can see that the DA of this site is 97. That is very high. It's the strongest you can get is 100. So now that you kind of get a grasp on why domain authority stacking is important and the factors it plays in the search engine and kind of how it's been developed, it's kind of time to get into the understanding of when you use what. Because sometimes trying to manipulate the trust is most beneficial, whereas sometimes you want to go more for a power play. And this is a very easy way to determine when you need to use what. So we have domain authority and we have the power that goes into the domain. So I like to consider page authority to be related to the power, and the domain authority is more about the trust. So when you look into the SERPs, when we go and we do a search for Nashville SEO, like what you can see here, I'll just zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little better what's going on. So for Nashville SEO, we see that we have NashvilleSEO.org. The DA, or the authority right here, is a 36. Now we have lots of other properties on this front page also that have a high domain authority. So this is 100, and this is a YouTube video. Obviously, they're going to be a trusted seed set because YouTube is owned by Google. Okay, so let's continue down to some of the other ones. We showed you this was the Facebook page earlier, another domain authority of 100. So when we, just scrolling back up at the top, if this was the money site I was trying to target, and I'm looking at the DA and it's a 36, well, depending on your competition that you're trying to go against and the amount of pages you could put on this domain that are relevant to the term you're trying to rank for, you might need to push more Moz trust and power through this domain to get this to really respond in the search engines. So DAS would be appropriate for this because this site doesn't have a lot of trust. It's only got a 36 domain authority. Whereas if I was looking at YouTube, which already has a domain authority of 100, I'm not so much concerned about pushing the trust through to the domain. I'm looking more to try and push power to the domain, because me pushing any more trust to YouTube is not going to benefit anything. So this is strictly a power play. So I'm just looking for whether you want to consider it high PR links or really high PA links or whatever the case is. That's going to give you a lot more lift for this type of property. Whereas if you're only doing like PR type links, you need to be aware that you do need the juice coming in. You do need the PR. You do need the PA. But you also need that trust factor kicking in as well, because Google's not going to accept this if it's not seeing some kind of trust coming into the site as well. So in the next video, we're going to go into how we set up some of these properties and pick out the keywords that we're going to do to really get a property moving. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video.